Good afternoon. Good afternoon. I am absolutely delighted. I am absolutely honored to be here with my colleague on the Council of the District of Columbia, Councilmember Jim Graham, who represents with distinction Ward 1 in our city. I am delighted to be here to introduce an absolute giant, an absolute stalwart, a man who has made an enormous difference in the District of Columbia, and that is Councilmember David Catania. David was first elected to the Council of the District of Columbia in a special election in 1997, in what many thought was going to be a slam dunk for his opponent. And of course, those who have gotten to know David know that anything that he is involved in will never be a slam dunk for those who are on the other side of an issue or an election with David Catania. Come on, that's polite applause. Let's give it up for David. His was a citywide election, and David was the first openly gay person ever to be elected to the Council of the District of Columbia, and what a monumental accomplishment that was. He went on a year later in 1998, again in a citywide election, to win a full 4-year term. He was elected again in 2002, again in 2006, and I have absolutely no doubt that David Catania will be elected to his seat again in 2010 in November, where we conduct yet another election in the city. David has been the quintessential legislator. In the very early going, there were a lot of very experienced legislators who already had committees. Soon after joining the council, David took on an assignment that probably nobody else wanted. We have a political structure here called the Advisory Neighborhood Commissions. There are 285 commissioners in the city who represent single-member districts that include 2,000 people. David, in fact, had been an Advisory Neighborhood Commissioner himself. And the innovations that he brought to that in terms of accountability, in terms of creating a staff, and in terms of connecting the Advisory Neighborhood Commissions with their city in a way that had not been done before was incredibly innovative. He then took on the responsibility of the Department of Employment Services and did an analysis of the Workforce Investment Act in ways that had not been done in the District of Columbia heretofore, and began to bring more accountability to our Employment Services Department. But David's real love has been health care. He became the chair of the Committee on Health, which was first created as a separate entity in 2005 when David took over responsibility for that committee. The list of accomplishments on the healthcare front are absolutely extraordinary, and when you look at those accomplishments, the name David Catania will be at the top of whatever list you want to construct. We now have one of the most innovative and inclusive Medicaid programs in the country. We have a healthcare alliance, which is kind of our own local Medicaid program that covers 55,000 people. And put together, they have led us to become a jurisdiction second only to Massachusetts in the number of uninsured people that we have. And what I mean by that is we have the lowest number of uninsured people in the nation now, except for the state of Massachusetts. We also have, and when you talk to David, he talks with such great pride about these things, and he can cite the statistics. I think we're at 6.2% in terms of the number of uninsured, and we have the lowest number of uninsured children in the nation of any jurisdiction, and that is 3.2%. Only 3.2% of our children are uninsured. And as I sat with him yesterday on a Saturday at a hearing, he leaned over, he said, you know, the ward that has the lowest number of uninsured in the District of Columbia is the ward where we have the greatest challenges, and that is Ward 8, which means that those who are most economically challenged in the city have almost no child now who has no health care insurance, thanks, frankly, to the work that's been done by Councilmember David Catania. But you know, as great as David has been on all the fronts that I've mentioned, I'll never forget the day when he turned to me and he said, you know what, Vince? He said, when I look back on my career, the accomplishment that I will be most proud of, and I want to join him with that same level of pride, is having achieved marriage equality in the District of Columbia. We are 13 members of the Council of the District of Columbia, and I'm proud to be part of a body that, simply put, has done the right thing. And the right thing was to adopt marriage equality in this city, not after the line was so long it was out the door, but to be one of the leaders in the nation on this issue. And our council stood strong, it stood tall, and it did the right thing. And I want to give full credit to David for the leadership that he provided on this. We had 11 co-introducers of this bill of the 13, and everybody worked hard to move it forward. And in December, the Council of the District of Columbia became a jurisdiction that stood up for the right thing, and that is we approved marriage equality, and now everybody in the District of Columbia is treated equally. And thanks in substantial part, the lion's share of the credit goes to my friend, my colleague, a person who I'm honored to serve with. Please join me in honoring and welcoming Councilmember David Catania.